So, welcome. For those of you that are wondering what the heck is going on, don't worry about it. I'll just let Kevin explain everything. So, Kevin, please explain why and what is going on.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of Powerbomb Weekly. In a surprise move, folks, it appears as though the amazing Michael Burdett has taken tonight off to spend some well-deserved time with his family. And let's be honest, when the announcer guy heard that news, well, I was a little afraid that Joey was going to stink up the place for 3 hours. Luckily, though, Joey's found some amazing guest hosts that we'll introduce here in a moment. But first, on tonight's show, the team's going to break down all the latest news in your favorite wrestling shows, including the best and worst from each broadcast. They'll also give you a full review of the IMPACT Pay-Per-View Rebellion and take a look at some interesting rumors that are floating around the interweb. But first, let me introduce to you your hosts. Ladies and gentlemen, this man is to professional wrestling what the great Mike Tenay was to professional wrestling. He's a professor. He knows all things in the background and is a true wrestling fanatic. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ron Dumpin. Our other co-host is the truly greatest owner of Kitsap Great Escape, the only escape room in Kitsap County. By the way, book your room today at kitsapgreatescape.com. He's a new fan, but is slowly finding himself being sucked into the glory and drama that is professional wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dan Davis. And ladies and gentlemen, your regular co-host. Well, let's just say that when ranking the 3 co-hosts this week, he still comes in at number 3. In fact, he's the only person in media today that would go to a great Mexican restaurant and order a grilled cheese sandwich. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joey Marcello. And again, don't forget, Michael Burdett should be back next week. This is Powerbomb Weekly, and on with the show.
Yes. I did in fact order a grilled cheese sandwich at a Mexican restaurant just Friday night.
And he said it was good.
It was delicious.
I am not surprised a bit.
So, first of all, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Ron. Like I said, Mike wanted to spend some time with his family. It was a very slow week. I don't think this show is going to take very long. But the other reason that I brought these guys in is we all watched IMPACT's Rebellion last night. We're going to talk about that at the end of the show because that was the only way to keep Dan here the whole time. And we really enjoyed the pay-per-view, so we're going to go over that probably more in detail than we normally would with a IMPACT show because, like I said, we all watched it. Yeah. It was, matter of fact, at Bound for Glory right here that I turned Dan into a fan of wrestling again.
Yeah.
He watches YouTube clips of Impact Wrestling.
You sneak him in? All right.
Matter of fact, I actually paid $40 for a pay-per-view because you wanted to see the match.
I had to see what happened when we were down and Bound for Glory and what happened to Josh Alexander. I just had to see how it turned out.
That was your Vegas trip, wasn't it?
That was, yeah. A lot of fun.
Okay.
And we'll talk more about that very shortly. Again, I apologize. My media computer over here, it was going wonky on me, so I'm just trying to get it back up and running. But it looks like I have it, so we should be good to go as soon as it stops being dumb.
Oh.
All right. So, as I mentioned, just gonna go right to as I mentioned, there's been no real news in wrestling. There's been a couple small things here and there, but there's been nothing like worth really talking about. There's I did realize a little too late that today is John Cena's birthday, or was it yesterday?
I think it was yesterday.
So John Cena's birthday, and there. So the only thing about John Cena is what's going to happen in the rumors section. So like nothing of value. So we're just going to go right to the
Where you going?
right to the actual wrestling shows. So with that being said, let's go to This Week in Wrestling. So first of all, NXT. So I know that. So we're not going to hear much from Dan because Dan doesn't watch much wrestling, but Ron does watch wrestling, and he said he does definite thoughts about NXT. So NXT this week we start off with more of the drama with Braun Breaker and the fact that Braun Breaker is now in a horror movie. And the psycho known as Gacy.
Gacy,
Which Gacy used to be. So you would have liked Gacy's character early on, Dan. He was very much like Ian. Ian's wrestling character.
Yep.
But now he's just gone on full on psycho. He kidnapped his father. He
got his ring, didn't he?
He kidnapped his father, and he's just like hiding in the shadows, wanting to jump in the middle thing. So it was a whole thing. But good. I got everything up and running now. So the first match we started off with was Tiffany Stratton versus Sarray. Sarray. So the thing about NXT is, as we've talked about on the show many times, everybody has to be a character. Everybody, you cannot have just like, I am a wrestler. No, everyone is like a full-on born character. Matter of fact, Sarray has a amulet from her dead grandmother that turns into her. She's a Japanese wrestler, and her amulet turns her into a superhero like Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
That's
that's a Sailor
Like
Moon
she looks like a schoolgirl. She holds her medallion, and then smoke happens, and she comes out in a completely different outfit, different hair, and looks like a superhero. Right. Well, dead grandma doesn't help you anymore because Tiffany Stratton is a very, like, you would hear the name Tiffany Stratton, you'd think Beverly Hills, Daddy Gives Me All the Money.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what she is. And she was able to somehow, the power of Daddy's money was more than the power of dead grandma's.
Yeah. Who was that wrestler that had that bit before? There's
been many.
Yeah.
It was not a great match. It was not good.
No.
Then we had Grayson Waller, who turned on his bodyguard. So it seems like everyone's got to have a little guy versus a guy that's 15,000 feet tall.
Yeah.
Grayson Waller beat Sanga. But the real big meat of the program is now this drug cartel. So again, everyone's a character. So there's these Mexican restaurants, El Fantasma. They're basically like this drug cartel. They are the epitome of stereotypical Mexican wrestlers.
Okay.
And they are beefing with Tony D'Angelo from Chicago.
From Tony.
Tony for that.
It was a mafia. He's been deemed the Don of NXT.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they're now having gang wars between the Italians and the Mexicans.
Okay.
And it's ridiculous. But the drug cartel beat. So the drug cartel was wrestling Drake and Gibson, who were the hillbillies.
Yeah.
The rednecks, and they won.
And so, what night of the week is this soap opera on?
Tuesdays.
Tuesday nights,
Okay.
yeah.
This is Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
We talk about it before Monday Night Raw because it's its own thing, even though it's not its own thing. As we'll get to a little later, because he's got questions about something that's going to come up. And you know what? We're just going to say screw it because you don't want to work. Okay. So and later on in the show, they're outside, and so in the match, after the match, these two hooded, very Italian-looking dudes come down and beat up the drug cartel. They beat them up, and so then they go to a interview, and they're like, Tony D'Angelo, do you have anything to do with the hit that happened tonight? And he's like, hey, forget about it. I don't know anything about this. Maybe they're just some guys trying to get my attention. I don't know anything about it. Why are you blaming me? Mario Pizza. It was so dumb.
Because they said Tony told me to do this.
And so then he goes, because they're doing this interview outside for whatever reason. And then he's like, hey, is this, it was a nice black big Escalade. And he's like, hey, do you know, is this Alpha Tasma's, ride? And they're like, yeah, I think it is. He goes, oh, okay. It's a beautiful car. And then he walks off. Like, an hour and a half later in the show, the drug cartel, is coming out from they're getting ready to go home. And there's a giant fish, dead fish, laying in the windshield and a giant boot on the car.
Okay.
How did this happen? I'm describing a TV show written for men.
Yeah.
It's a soap opera. It's soap opera.
It is.
It's on ridiculous level.
It's just as ridiculous as it all sounded. And I've never actually saying these things out loud really makes me question my life's decisions sometimes. Let's see. Then Carmelo Hayes. He also wrestled the leader of the drug cartel, and these are two of the best wrestlers on the show, and they had an amazing match. It went back and forth. So then Natalya shows up. Natalya is the sister-in-law of Bret Hart. You've heard of Bret Hart because back in the day.
Yeah.
So Ron asked me before we started, did she get demoted?
Yeah, that's what I wondered.
No. So Natalya did not get demoted. Raw and SmackDown realized because a year ago, NXT was the black and gold brand. They were amazing. They had good shows. It wasn't about characters. It was about good wrestling. And then they rebooted it to this 2.0 splash of color and everyone's a character. And nobody likes it.
Yep.
Nobody watches it hardly. Yep. Because of the things I just described to you.
Well,
I can't understand why nobody watches it.
I described to you a dead grandma's powerful amulet and an Italian hitman.
Yeah.
Well, so they're bringing the top talent back down to try to get people to watch it. And it's not working very well. So anyway, Natalya has been coming down to show everybody, because Natalya calls herself the Boat, which it's not a great.
Okay, sounds scary.
So what is a goat? Like, what is Tom Brady?
Okay.
Yeah,
a football player.
No, but what is
cheater? I'm sorry.
You set yourself up for that one.
So he's the greatest of all time.
Oh,
so
that's what you got.
Natalya calls herself the Boat as the best of all time, which again, why would a woman call herself a boat? I don't get it. But anyway, so she's come down to put everybody on notice that and it's all the disrespect. So she wrestled a nobody, Tatum Paxley. And then after the match, she challenged Roxy, who's now Roxanne Perez. She was the Ring of Honor champion when Ring of Honor went out of business. And so that happened. And then Roxanne Perez got her debut. She wrestled against Pretty Deadly, who is Mandy Rose's back down in NXT. Yeah. She's the champion down there.
Right.
And Pretty Deadly are very scantily clad women who claim to be pretty and claim to be deadly. I don't find either of those to be true. Mandy Rose is beautiful, not so much on the other two. At least that's my opinion on it. All right. So So Wesley. So we were talking about this last night during the pay-per-view. So Trey Miguel, who's in Impact, who's amazing. Mm-hmm. So back in the day, he was part of the Rascals, and then they broke up. So then the two of the Rascals came to NXT. One of them decided to pose with a Hitler mustache, got kicked out.
Yeah.
So the guy that was left over, what was going to happen with him? So last night, they actually addressed the fact that he's been floundering for a week. He does 2 weeks. He doesn't know what to do. He's lost everything. He lost his partner. He lost. He doesn't know what to do. So this really big dude, Zion Quinn, gave him some advice and then beat him up.
Okay.
Yes. So there's a wrestler also named now Nikita Lyons. Nikita Lyons. I know you've seen the meme. It's been all over the place. The woman who's doing the splits on top of the other girl, and that's how she pins her.
Yeah.
Can't say I've seen it.
Okay.
Right.
Well, you look at the nice places on the internet where the rest of us depraved people don't. Anyway, so she actually jumps up, does the splits, and lands on the woman right above on her chest, and that's how she's been pinning people.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And she is the daughter of a rock star and a martial artist in story, and has 15 different gimmicks that all don't make any sense. She's also very Instagram popular. She has a large butt, which makes her very popular. And that's when she does the split pin. It helps, I guess. Anyway, so she wants to fight Natalya.
No.
Because
right.
reasons. And then the other big thing on this match. So Dexter Lumis. Dexter Lumis is one of my favorite wrestlers. Dexter Lumis does not talk. He is he's a psycho. He's psycho.
Pretty much.
He's a psycho. His whole gimmick is he doesn't blink. And what you just did, you've seen him.
No,
You've seen Dexter Lumis. You just did Dexter Lumis.
It just surprised me, so okay.
Mm-hmm. So Dexter Lumis is just like, that's all he does.
Yeah.
But he's really, really good. And he's been partnered with some other guy who's a jackwad.
Duke?
Duke.
Yeah.
And I
Whatever.
don't understand
why
this is working, but it is. And they wrestled the Pretty Deadly, which are some flamboyant.
Yeah.
So it's like Fandango, only British. Mm-hmm. They're flamboyant. They're the champions now. They came over from NXT UK. Mm-hmm. I don't really care much for them. I don't get it. But it was a thing, and we kind of have to talk about it. So, NXT was decent this week. Again, it's so weird because I don't have somebody going, "You're wrong, and here's why." We miss you, Michael.
I'm happy to tell you you're wrong,
right.
Joey.
We can tell you're wrong in other things, but...
And Michael, if you happen to watch or want to make some comments, please do. Currently, nobody's watching us because apparently Michael brings everybody.
Because we're all here.
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, nobody's watching the show because my viewers are watching.
We're watching our own show right now.
Viewers are co-hosts.
And the one reviewer I get at the beginning of the show has already left because Kevin's intro's done.
Oh.
Yeah, I got you.
Sorry, there's pauses because I usually drink when Michael's ranting. So you watched a little bit of NXT, Ron. You feel free to make comments.
Okay. Well, I think the Natalya thing is she's just playing the boat thing. That's what Owen did for many years, actually. So I'm not surprised that she's doing that again. Owen always that was his whole spiel with Brett, because Brett was, best there is, best there was, best there ever will be.
Yeah.
Owen was always playing, I don't want to say second fiddle, but it's I'm better than Brett or whatever. So it's kind of interesting that Natalya's, which is nice. But yeah, it's like her and you know, that's just something that the Hart Foundation always had. So I don't know if you watched, but way back when.
Yeah, I watched a lot in the 90s, late 90s and stuff. So
yeah, I actually like the Hart Foundation, and that was the precursor to Stone Cold being Stone Cold, and you know, once he started attacking Canadians, that's when it got better. Yeah, I always like Natalya as a wrestler. I mean, she's pretty good, but
she's got a lot of surgery done lately, and her face looks like a full duck.
yeah,
she straight up looks like a duck now. Quack quack. All right. Anything else you want to talk about in NXT? Because I know you really want to talk about Raw.
not much.
Are you enjoying the Mafia versus Mafia?
No, it reminds me of ECW days with the FBI and Super Crazy.
FBI actually wrestled on Impact last week.
Seriously?
Yes.
Ah!
Full-blooded Italians, yeah. FBI. Okay, so Mike hates this, but I get to do it because you guys are here and not Mike. So,
TikTok?
Yes. So there's a guy who does TikTok videos that he pretends to be a producer for the shows. Okay. So he's going to produce. This is what his view of the producer of last week's Raw. So you'll get some ideas of what happened on Raw from him, and then we'll talk about Raw also. So I have to quickly mute us.
Sir, we have a problem. Riddle's drug test came back and it popped for cannabis. This is a family-friendly company. We don't tolerate drug use of any kind. Inform Riddle that he's been suspended for 30 days under our wellness policy. Sir, if you would, I just need your approval on these RK Bro 420 t-shirts. Those look terrific. Make sure they're front and center on WWEshop.com. Just 3 weeks ago, you were in the main event with Stone Cold Steve Austin of WrestleMania Night 1. And now here you are in a lie detector comedy bit with Ezekiel. Shoosh! Shoosh, please! Thank you! I have the results! Ezekiel, you are the father!
The only reason you beat me, Cody Rhodes, is because I didn't know who my opponent was. So now the tables have turned. I'm gonna handpick your opponent for the main event tonight. You'll never see this one coming.
I saw that viral video of you training, and you've never looked better! Woo! Listen, it's not about how many L's you take, it's how hot you look doing it. And after the match, that's when you turn on Liv Morgan.
The dingo's got my baby!
Love the new catchphrase. Jesus Christ, that was a sloppy match. I'm talking women's wrestling on AEW Dark level of sloppy. The writers, the producers, everyone warned me not to do 2 comedy bits in one night, but I just can't help myself. What's up? What? I said, what's up? What? The crowd is hijacking the goddamn segment.
Wait, R-Truth, we forgot to do the part with the rings.
Man, I can't believe y'all do that to R-Truth like that. What? Follow me to freedom. Wow. Just fucking wow. That was on TV. This episode of Monday Night Raw is sponsored by K Jewelers. Men, want to prove to the world that you make $39,000 a year? Shop at K Jewelers. Sir, I have USA Network on the phone. They want to talk about the last segment. Hello, who's this? The sponsors want their money back. Listen, when I throw a dog a bone, I don't want to know if it tastes good or not.
Hey, where the hell are you going? Come back and fight me.
9, 10, that's a count out. Nothing like ending the show with a wet fart. Hopefully it won't affect us in the ratings. Oh, this is not good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No.
Now you could probably see Rod's face. He's like, "Oh, those are the things I wanted to talk about."
It's like, thank you for reminding me of the horrible thing that I witnessed.
So, Raw. This was the flagship show. This was the show that's 3 hours long. That generally has 45 minutes of wrestling in it.
okay.
Sure.
Raw is supposed to be the show that everybody goes to, the show that everybody watches, and yeah. So we started the show with Cody coming out. Cody Rhodes used to wrestle for. Cody Rhodes is the son of Dusty Rhodes. Cody Rhodes left WWE because he was Stardust.
Yes.
Because you remember that.
I remember Stardust.
Yes, and you remember how awesome that was.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's like, I'm done. I'm going to go be a star. And so he helped start AEW, and he was one of the executive producers. And then they brought in CM Punk and Daniel Bryan and all these other people, and he realized, I'm never going to get anywhere in this company now because I promised I would never fight for the championship, and they're giving these people all this extra money, and I'm not getting any of it, so I'm going to go back to Raw where they'll treat me like a star. And so far, on week 3, he still looks like a star. We'll see where we're at a year from now.
Okay.
So he comes out, and Seth Rollins is like, the only reason you beat me, like he says, because I didn't know I was going to wrestle you at WrestleMania, because apparently he doesn't read the internet. Because everybody knew this was going to happen. Everybody. Whatever. So he says, I want to wrestle you and I'm going to pick your opponent tonight. You're going to see what it feels like. I'm going to pick your opponent. And I admit, it says it at the bottom, I didn't see it coming. I was like, that's not going to be, I can't see who this is going to be. So we immediately go from there to another segment. We don't have it like, okay, we're 45 minutes in. We don't even have any wrestling yet. So then they do this whole, so there's this wrestler, and it was Elias. He was running around with a guitar and long hair. Elias, so Mike and I talked about this last week, and we've talked about it in the past. Elias in Seattle said the crowd was booing him because he was a bad guy. He was a heel.
Yeah.
And he said, that's why you guys can't keep a basketball team. And Key Arena at the time booed him for like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was one of the best innovations. Anyway, so he went away because he was losing, and he was tired of the gimmick.
Right.
And now he's come back. He shaved his head. He shaved his beard, and he cut his hair. And now he's saying he's Ezekiel,
Younger brother.
Elias's younger brother. So imagine if I cut my hair, shave my beard, and I'm like, I'm Josiah. I am Joey's younger brother. That is what the gimmick is.
Whew. The writing for this is incredible.
He actually looks like Macho Man, actually, to me.
That was kind of where they were going with it. And so so Kevin Owens is like, I'm not dumb. I was your partner. I know you're Elias. Stop lying to me. So they brought in a lie detector test.
Yeah.
And had strapped him to a lie detector test. And he was like, I am Ezekiel. And the lie detector test graphic stayed straight.
You gotta say who the operator was.
Oh yes, the operator was Chad Gable,
Oh,
Olympic wrestler. Chad Gable, who is part of the Alpha Academy, who has a 4.0.
Thank you.
And his catchphrase is, thank you!
Yeah.
And shoosh!
Michael Myers.
Yeah. So he did so Kevin Owens was highly seen in this segment, so he's going to fight Ezekiel / Elias soon. And they actually doctored a picture of the two of them together.
Okay.
So in that, hey, look, I'm here with my brother.
Yeah.
So finally we get a wrestling match, and it's the women, Naomi and Sasha Banks. Oh, sorry, not Naomi and Sasha. Yeah, Naomi and Sasha Banks, who are the women's tag team champions, versus Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. Liv Morgan is the little blonde that you saw who never wins, and Rhea Ripley. I don't know if you've watched it with my daughter, but have you watched Trolls World Tour with Isley?
I don't think I have.
She looks like Queen Barb.
Pretty much.
She is Queen Barb.
Okay.
And they wrestled Naomi and Sasha Banks. I hate Sasha Banks.
I love Sasha.
I hate everything about Sasha Banks.
I love Sasha.
I hate the fact they're trying to make me like Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks is been
No one's
healed.
trying to make you like Sasha. Sasha's likable.
She's not likable.
She is.
Sasha is insufferable.
But Joey, you're wrong. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
Yeah. So the
They were
last time
arguing.
you saw Sasha Banks was when you watched Mandalorian. Season 2, she was one of the Mandalorians.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mercedes.
Yeah.
So Sasha Banks is The Rock's cousin. She's Snoop Dogg's cousin, and she's a horrible, horrible human being, and I don't like her. Ron
What?
apparently loves her.
Yes.
She's horrible. Anyway,
Great.
so she's tag teaming with Naomi, which is good because Naomi doesn't they're throwing Naomi a bone. That's the only good thing about this. They're the tag team champions. And so they lose the match because Liv Morgan loses. That's her thing. She loses.
Yeah, pretty much.
In the world of WWE, it's always 50-50 booking. You win one week, you lose the next.
Right.
You win, you lose. You win, you lose. Only with Liv Morgan's the only wrestler that gets 0-100 booking. Like never wins, always loses. So she loses the match. They don't get the tag team titles like they've been chasing because she's always the one who loses.
Yeah.
She wasn't there to help Rhea win. And so then Rhea Ripley just beats the tar out of her because...
Well, that match was not very good.
No!
There was a lot of missed spots on that one. And even the announcers was like, oh, there's a one kick. And it's like, oh, you missed.
Like there's missing, and then there's like...
No, this was a whoop.
You didn't even go close.
Yeah.
It's like her face is here, like boots right, and she goes down. It's like,
With-
wow.
So, they have broken up. Now the storyline is now Rhea's going to beat up on Liv for a while, and it's going to be like the next match, Veer Mahan versus nobody Jeff Brooks. So Veer Mahan committed murder. So the guy is bigger than Morrissey. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to give Impact because he understands Impact. So he's a big Indian dude. He's actually got a movie on, as Mike says every week, he's the guy with the $1 Million Hand.
Oh.
He is the guy for the $1 Million Hand, which is a Disney Plus show. He used to be a baseball player, a very large Indian baseball player. I believe he played for Pittsburgh. So if you know the story of that, because I know you like baseball, maybe you knew. Anyway, Veer Mahan is a very big dude. Actually, I will, so that you can see him. He wrestled this little guy who's
It's pretty much his hometown. He was just a hometown wrestler.
he
They always
wrestled
do
this
that.
little dude. So this is what Veer Mahan looks like. So here's a picture of Veer Mahan. And he wrestled somebody who probably weighed 150 pounds.
A third of his weight.
A third of his weight. And he just...
Like me.
And he killed him. He committed murder.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Oh, sorry. Then we went to the Ezekiel. It's not the father. Oh, okay. So I guess there was some matches in between the two segments. I got the...
Oh.
In AEW, there's this really popular thing called the House of Black. So in WWE, the House of Blue. Yep. So Edge, remember Edge from back in the day? Yep. Mm-hmm. Edge is back, and he's a bad guy now, and he has blue light, and he's brought in Damian Priest, and he's a faction. He's like the Godfather. Mm-hmm. Basically, what happened is there was a wrestler called Aleister Black, who was amazing. He's very good. He was very over. He was, but Vince didn't see it. Vince didn't understand why anybody would like this guy. Yeah. And so Vince found all of the notes that Aleister Black had written about his character, and he gave them to Edge. It said, "Now you're going to do this, and you can't convince me otherwise." Mm-hmm. And Mike would have really gotten that, and too bad Mike's not here. Let's see. Then then we had RK Bro, which is Randy Orton and Riddle. So
Street Profits
versus the Street Profits. So the joke about the whole popping positive, basically for the longest time WWE had a drug policy that if you pop positive for cannabis, you would take a 30-day suspension. And apparently, an RK Bro, Matt Riddle, who is used to be a legitimate UFC fighter, is very 420 friendly, as is Randy Orton apparently. And Vince McMahon has decided that, okay, you know what? I'm going to take that policy away. Smoke him if you got him. And so anyway, they wrestled the Street Profits. It was the best match. It was the second best night match of the night. And the story is that Randy Orton and Riddle, RK Bro, are going to wrestle the tag team champions from SmackDown for unification because Roman Reigns wants to.
The Bloodline.
The Bloodline wants all the titles. And then Then what happened?
Yeah. Theory.
Then what happened, Ron?
Then Austin. It's not named the Austin Theory. It's just Theory now versus Finn, and it was a fairly good match. But Theory took the title from Finn, and all the heels came out in the back and the off in the back. I was like, what? So, all the people that I was like, these people don't come on the show, and they're coming out now. Okay.
So Finn Balor is a really good wrestler. He's wrestled in New Japan. He's wrestled all over the world, and Vince has never pushed this guy correctly. He had the U.S. title. It was like, oh, they're finally giving Finn a chance. Finally. And then Austin Theory, who came up from NXT. Now, I like Austin Theory. He's a good wrestler. He is young. He is a future wrestler. Well, Vince McMahon has said, this is my guy. And he's like, I'm going to mentor him. And I'm going to he's the one who wrestled Pat McAfee at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So he gave him a match against Finn Balor. And Finn Balor was able to take the belt from... and then all of the heels came out and put him on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Heels don't do that. The bad guys don't celebrate in the ring. And Ron's like... We were all like... That's not how this works.
It's like, this is totally backwards. However, Theory took the best stunner from Austin, though. I'll tell you that one.
And then we had a wedding.
Ugh.
No, the wedding was last.
Was that last? Yeah.
No. The wedding didn't happen. The first we... I don't remember what happened last. Whether it was the wedding or not. But anyways, we had this double wedding that took way too long.
I agree. It was a waste of space.
The crowd hijacked. The crowd wasn't into it. The crowd kept yelling what in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
R-Truth got completely turned around. He didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
And it fell apart because that's what happens.
So why did something like that have to happen during a broadcast? Why couldn't that have been...
Like in the first part of the show?
Why you do a 30-second social media spot during the week and show that happened?
Because this is good shit.
Yeah, whatever. It's
so
crap. That's what it
So at one point in time, I'm gonna make you suffer now.
Oh no.
So this is what happened.
Okay, Michael.
Yes, this is what happened. Let me tell you what happened. So they're like, all right, we got it. So it was a double wedding. So you had Dana Brooke and Reggie, Reggie is a former Cirque du Soleil performer. So he does lots of flips. He's really good at flips. Awesome at flips, in fact. And then you had Tamina Snuka, who is Jimmy Snuka's daughter, and Tozawa, who used to be a great Japanese wrestler. Now he's a joke.
Yeah.
So they're both getting married. And so at one point he goes, if there's anybody who has any who challenges this wedding, speak now. So then Tamina...
The entire audience?
All of us on the line.
So Tamina looks at Tozawa, looks over at Reggie, and takes Tozawa, picks him up, puts him over next to Dana Brooke, and puts him next to him and says, all right, so I'm going to marry Reggie instead. And then he's like, okay, and fine. Now is there anybody now who objects? And then Tamina goes, no. And then she takes Tozawa, brings him over, and then grabs Dana, and so now it's Dana and Tamina going to get married. The crowd absolutely loved that idea.
I feel as they were talking about it, you should put the word married in quotes.
Oh, yeah, married.
Married. It's not
married.
Married.
And they never said wedding. They kept saying commitment ceremony. So
that's true. That's true.
So then everyone's like, yeah, let's do that. He's like, okay, surely now there's no objections. And then she's like, no, wait a minute. And then she brings Dana back over, and then she brings back to... So now they have the original.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're switching back.
We have 10 minutes to kill. Let's do something stupid.
Exactly. And it took that... All that did take about 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, now please kiss... And then they're like, what about the rings? The guys are all like, what about the rings? Oh, crap, I forgot about the rings because this has gone way too long. And I don't remember what I'm supposed to...
I forgot the script.
Yes. So, and then the wedding never actually happened because Dana. So then they tried to. The whole thing about this is there's a 24/7 belt. The belt is. And so as soon as the commitment ceremony was over, they tried to steal the belt from one another, and
it just became a giant schmoz of nothing.
Yeah, it was a giant bit of nothing.
Yeah.
And it took 20 plus minutes. And if I was in the audience and I had paid to watch that, I probably would have been pissed.
So what keeps you coming back to these shows week after week? I mean, you're sitting here, you're complaining about them, you're laughing at them. What keeps you coming back each week?
Oh, wow, you're going to ask me that, huh?
I'll answer by
the fact that you've got this show to do?
No, because I can just do it. Because I could just do the show on AEW if that were the case. Oh, somebody joined us. Who's watching?
Who's watching?
I'm sorry, whoever you are.
Hey, stop that. Hey, welcome to the show. Tell us who you are. Hi.
It's probably Mike. Get off my show. You do. Out.
Yeah,
you ask a good question. That is a really.
I haven't answered.
Go
too,
for it,
but
Ron. What's your
You answer it first.
You want me to answer first?
Yes.
Part of it is actually hope because
hope that it gets better?
at least it gets funnier.
I'll admit, I've watched TV shows, TV series far beyond where I should have because I'm invested.
Right.
You know, I've got to see how this ends. Doesn't mean that, you know, season 3 or season 4 was all that great, but I watched till it ended.
Yeah, I'm going to go off, you know, everybody's going to do the wrestling and whatnot, technical wrestling quality, but back in the Attitude Era, a lot of these skits were actually funny. They were, you know, I'm thinking DX and all this stuff. So I'm hoping, like, some of these kids would actually, like, click. But as Joey pointed out, it's like, this is going to, like, ridiculousness of, like, this has gone too far. There's, like, missing the punchline, if there is a punchline. You know, R-Truth usually can, like, carry, like, some type of drama and some type of comedy bit. But this was just, like, you know, I'm just, like, scratching my head. So part of me is, like, man, I hope they can catch that again, but no.
So I'm going to answer your question at the end during our final thought.
Sure, but I'd just like to point out that we lost our viewer, though.
Yes, we did lose our viewer. He watched it for like 30 seconds. And said,
by commenting, hey, there's a viewer. He's like, oh, not me.
He's ashamed.
That happens every time. I scare the fish away. Stop scaring the fish. No, I will answer why I keep watching Raw, SmackDown, and NXT at the end of the show during our final thought.
Okay.
All right.
Because I don't want to cut it in the middle of all this. All right, so then we finally, so it's the end of the end of the night, and so it's the big reveal. Who is the mystery opponent for Cody Rhodes? And it was, in fact, Kevin Owens. I didn't see that coming. I was surprised. I was surprised because he'd already had a segment that lasted like 15 minutes in the ring. Now, I realize that Seth Rollins' only friend on the show is Kevin Owens, but their friendship had been strained before WrestleMania. I thought they were going to bring somebody new in. I don't know who new was going to show up because you've kind of burned a lot of bridges. Maybe somebody from a call-up from NXT. Dolph Ziggler. I don't know. I just didn't expect it to be Kevin Owens. I was happy. They had a great match. The match was about 17 minutes and 20 seconds long, and for 17 minutes and 15 seconds, 17 minutes and 10 seconds, it was a great match.
Yes.
And then Kevin Owens goes,
I'm not gonna work.
I'm done.
I'm done.
And he walks off and he gets counted out.
I'm gonna channel my inner Mike and says, "How did you not see that coming?" I mean, seriously.
He stopped wrestling and walked away.
Walked away.
Got counted out.
Yeah, got counted out.
Just Kevin Owens. It's like,
all right.
Kevin Owens has done that before.
Yeah.
But you just ended your show by... Okay, so first of all, you crap on the audience in the first hour because you do shush!
Yes, exactly. And we have to tolerate that forever.
You give your audience a good show in the second hour with one good match. And then you end the show with this horrible wedding segment, and then you just end a good match by walking out. It's because they didn't want it would have made more sense if Seth Rollins would have just started kicking Cody Rhodes, and then Kevin Owens got disqualified, and then they just both beat up Kevin Owens. Instead of just walking away, there's like no...
There's no finish. It's like when a TV show says, to be continued.
Right.
In a bad way.
But it's there's no resolution there.
None. It was like a... So, like I said,
part of me was just too predictable. I mean, Seth
How
Rollins,
was
mystery...
he wrestling? Was he getting beat? It was
No,
hard to tell.
it was
hard to tell, but the whole... What turned me off was the whole Kevin... unlike Joey, I knew it was Kevin Owens. Just because it's like, well, if the beginning of, Seth Rollins, Owens wanted to steal spotlight, then, he beat, they went back and forth, and, Kevin Owens is the only one that seems to like Seth Rollins, and the way that the writing's been, it's like, this is just way too predictable. They're not going to throw another surprise on top of the surprise because they're still pushing Cody. So
Raw is a 3-hour show. If you take away, so in an average hour show, you have to take away 20 minutes for commercials.
Okay.
So 3 times 4, so 3 times 40 is still
120 minutes.
120 minute show. And in this 120 minutes of show, you got 47 minutes of wrestling.
Okay, 20 minutes of a wedding.
Whatever you call that, yeah.
Commitment. Sorry.
And
Drama.
Then you had 30 minutes of So the thing about Vince McMahon, the other thing that drives me absolutely bonkers about WWE, and I know, well, then why do I keep watching it? The other thing that gets me is Vince McMahon thinks that either A, you don't remember anything you just saw, or sometimes like earlier on. 20 minutes ago, this is what happened. Let's remind everybody what happened 20 minutes ago.
And then they replay it for 5 minutes or whatever.
Yes!
Okay, yeah.
And it's like, do you think that just people show up every 10 minutes like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I hope they show me a And it's not like it's at the beginning of the hour. It's just like random.
Yeah.
Well, he's got 3 hours worth of commercials to sell. And so he's got to fill it somehow.
So you're going to do this, like, recap all the time.
Advance the storyline.
Yeah.
Not saying you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you had 2 decent matches on the show and a whole lot of garbage. And I will say the Finn Balor theory, and then so the last 2 matches were the only 2 matches that went over 10 minutes.
It's true.
I see the one match there went 1 minute.
That was when he got murdered.
Yeah.
That's when Jeff Brooks got murdered.
Yeah.
So a guy that didn't really deserve to be in the ring.
He was a guy who was local. So it'd be like when we went down to the reservation.
They had the one guy come out,
Yeah. And so that's like when the reservation guy showed up when they were in Seattle. One of the guys from the reservation we saw on TV came out and got destroyed by it. At that time was Braun Strowman.
Ah.
All right. So again, Raw was not great. So let's move on to SmackDown, which was actually a better show, believe it or not. So, Raw had 6 matches. SmackDown, which is a 2-hour show, had 5. So,
yeah.
Okay.
That's not a typo. Yeah, there's really 5 matches.
None of those matches are 1 minute long.
No, not big, but yeah. Okay.
So, the first thing so the show started immediately with Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey doing a contract.
Yeah.
And Charlotte doesn't care anymore. Charlotte does not. You cannot convince me that Charlotte cares anything about wrestling anymore. She phones it in 100%. She is just pay me. And her and Ronda Rousey have no chemistry together. Ronda and Rousey, I don't know if she cares or she's just collecting her big paycheck, but it is painful to watch. So then we had our first match, which was Xavier Woods versus Butch. Butch used to be an amazing wrestler in NXT called Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
He brought him up. They changed his name to Butch, and he acts like he has rabies. He just goes after and attacks people. He's like, I'm gonna attack! Ah!
Yeah.
It's dumb. I don't like it.
It's Pete Dunne was like more of like a tactician, you know. If you remember, I actually liked watching him wrestle. Now it's sideshow. Yeah, it's sideshow now. I'm like,
Pete Dunne could have been comparable to Josh Woods or Josh Alexander.
yeah, I agree.
And now he's not.
Yeah.
So, remember I talked about characters. So, Xia Li used to be in NXT. She's another Japanese wrestler. When she came up to just before she left SmackDown and came up to SmackDown, she was a Mortal Kombat character.
Yeah.
Okay.
She wore the big Raiden hat.
Yeah.
She had the katanas that she swung around. She was literally a Mortal Kombat character. And she used to come down and protect people that was being bullied. Well, she's decided she's no longer going to protect the weak because there's nobody worth protecting anymore. This was a promo that she had backstage. I'm no longer going to protect the weak because there's none worthy of my protection. And Xia Li is out for blood. So that happened.
So my question to you, Joe, is why are they doing these quick change promos? Like all of a sudden they change character without much.
Well, first of all, Vince forgets half the time he's got women on his roster if their name's not Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, or Becky Lynch. Second of all, I don't know. I don't understand.
Okay, so I think most of us are regular watchers. Like, what the heck is going on here?
Well, first of all, Xia Li hasn't been showed in 3 months.
Exactly, and then all of a sudden you.
At least they explain why she's going to become a heel. They did that much at least instead of her just coming down beating people up. Weren't you the protector? Why are you beating them up? At least she said now why she's going to beat people up. So there's that.
Okay.
So when they want new characters, instead of bringing in a new person, they just change who you are?
Funny you should ask that. Because in the next match, you had Gunther.
Yes. Walter.
Gunther. So Walter. I don't know if you heard me and Mike talking about this a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Walter used to be this badass German dude. And then
Imperium, yeah.
And they changed his name to Gunther. And they made him lose about 50 pounds, which he looks great. You could tell he lost the weight. And he's still the ring general. And he still beats people up, but he's lost all of the edge he had when you give him a goofy name like Gunther.
Yeah.
And he did his squad. He beat Teddy Goods, who I'm going to guess was local boy.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, when your last name ends in Z, it probably is a good idea.
My name is Teddy Goods. Teddy Goods got beat up. He did not get murdered like Veer murdered Jeff, but he got beat up. He lasted a whole minute and 9 seconds longer.
2 minutes. 2 minutes total.
He doubled his time.
So he lasted a little longer. Well, this show is on Fox now, so Fox has got to get you notice there's more substance a little bit.
Yeah, a couple of these guys got their 2 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Matt Riddle wrestled again, because he's got to go both shows.
Yeah.
And he wrestled Jey Uso. They had a really, really good match.
That was a good match.
And Matt Riddle won. He beat the Usos again. And Randy Orton looks like he's having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me realize that they're going to lose the belts because they keep winning because Vince McMahon doesn't understand how to book people. Mm-hmm. They had a little promo with Ricochet. Ricochet is like Trey Miguel.
Okay.
He's all over the place. He knows how to wrestle. He's amazing. They used to call him the superhero. And Vince doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. He doesn't get it because he's not a character. He's just a really good wrestler.
Yeah.
And now he's going to wrestle another large Indian guy who used to be Veer's tag team partner. He carries a belt, but he doesn't get to wrestle anybody good.
Oh, what
So-
was his?
so-
Shanky, was he?
Yeah, so Shanky.
Shanky.
Sasha Banks and them came out again. Again, you cannot force me to like Sasha
Yay,
Banks,
Sasha.
no matter what you do. I don't like it.
Okay.
Don't like it. So then Madcap Moss. So Madcap Moss used to be a jokester with Baron Corbin. He would go around telling jokes. He wears little shorts and suspenders, and he's funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Supposed to keep Corbin happy.
Funny. And he is going to wrestle. He wrestled Angel Garcia. Angel and his Los Lotharos, they come out to kiss cam and they kiss women in the audience. They pick an
There's
audience
nothing
member.
wrong with that anymore.
They
right?
pick an audience member. It's all consensual.
Yeah.
She's all there posed waiting for her kiss. So you know that.
Yeah.
Often it's a independent wrestler from the local scene. So I was surprised Madcap lost, or he actually won.
No, he won.
But he's entering this whole program with Baron Corbin
Ugh.
because they used to be partners and now they're not, and nobody cares. So Sami Zayn is a very interesting wrestler. He's the conspiracy theorist. He thinks that everything's a conspiracy against him. He can wrestle. He wrestles really well, but they don't usually have him wrestle him. He's the one who wrestled Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best matches at WrestleMania.
I agree.
It was pure comedy. It was good comedy.
Right.
It was a not to be taken serious match because it was Johnny Knoxville. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
a giant hand came and smacked him.
Yeah.
He was pinned in a giant mouse trap.
Ah,
Yeah.
So he's like,
Tom and
I
Jerry
want,
movie.
I
Yeah,
want
it was-
credibility.
Yeah.
He's like, I want credibility. So he said a couple weeks ago, I want credibility. I'm going to wrestle the next person who comes out. The next person that came out was Drew McIntyre. You familiar with Drew McIntyre?
I believe he's big.
Drew
Now
McIntyre.
he's big.
Yes, Drew McIntyre wasn't always big, but he's big now. Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is I think a very good looking, a very handsome man, and he carries around. So here's a good picture of Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a big dude, and he carries around this sword.
Freaking Claymore.
Okay.
Yeah, and his finishing move is called the Claymore, where he runs across the ring and he jumps. It's almost like the karate games where the legs go out like this and kick him in the face.
Yeah, as much.
That's his finishing move. So he's like, I'm going to wrestle the next person who comes out, and it was Drew McIntyre. So, well, Sami Zayn is not exactly the biggest person in the world, but you know, he's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, like this is a picture of him getting pinned with a giant mouse
Mouse
trap.
trap.
So he thinks everything's a conspiracy against him. So he has been running away from every time he's in a match with McIntyre. He leaves.
Yeah.
He just gets out of the ring, much like what happened on Raw.
Yeah.
And this is the main event.
Oh, it was a lumberjack match this
And
time.
so,
yeah.
so to make sure he can't run away this time,
Yeah.
it's a lumberjack match. A lumberjack's when they put all the different wrestlers around the ring to stop you from being able to escape. So Sami Zayn, who is the smartest wrestler, and he goes to Roman Reigns, who's the head of the table. Roman Reigns is running SmackDown. He runs Raw. He's the champion for over 600 days. You know who Roman Reigns is.
Yeah. I drafted him, by the way.
Yes, you did. We're not going to talk about the draft.
What?
We don't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about Jada. We don't talk about the draft.
Mike, this is for you. I'm bringing up the draft. So it's like,
We don't talk about the draft. Anyway, so he goes into Roman Reigns' dressing room. He's like, hey, Roman, I don't know if you know this or not, but Drew McIntyre is talking crap about you and your whole family. And they just had RK Bro become lumberjacks. And I think they're trying to, that way they can get an edge on. So, I think you should help. And so, so Roman Reigns just sits there, just
angry, whatever.
angry, whatever, doesn't give anything. And he goes, all right, good talk. I'm glad we had this out. I'm going to leave now. And then He leaves, and then they center in on Roman Reigns. He's like, Jay, to his cousins, Jay and Jimmy, I am not going to tolerate people talking about my family. Go and take their names. Take my name out of their mouth. I was like, oh, you the Oscar nod. Yay, good job. Go take their names my name out of their mouth. So they show up to be lumberjacks. It was like Roman Reigns is like, in a lot of ways, Hulk Hogan of the 80s. Roman Reigns has been the champion for 600 days, and he's wrestled like 12 times. But he's on TV, so he's better than Brock Lesnar. He actually shows up on TV, where Brock Lesnar did nothing.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, he's being smart. I don't need to. What do I got to do? I'm the champion. I don't need to wrestle people. I'm the best. Ain't nobody gonna beat me. I've beaten everybody. Right. Which on TV he has.
Right.
So the match happens. The match goes for about 7 minutes. The match ended up being 8 minutes and 10 seconds, but the match was going about 7 minutes, and then all the lumberjacks start beating each other up because that's what happens during lumberjacks matches. Always happens. The Usos attack RK Bro. These guys attack these guys. So then, since the lumberjacks are all busy, Sami Zayn leaves and gets counted out. So both your shows end in a count out. So
they're using the same script or what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So next week, which was actually filmed because this week they're in England. They're doing a stadium show in England. So this week, SmackDown for the next Friday SmackDown was actually filmed right after this SmackDown. So there's a cage match to stop Sami from escaping.
Yeah.
And it's like the only real good thing on the show right now, which is sad. All right, final thoughts about SmackDown for you.
What about Lacey? The motivational speeches from Lacey that go nowhere.
All right. Lacey,
by the way, she looks good, but...
So Lacey Evans is she's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Let's show you what Lacey Evans looks like. Most of the people in Foreverland know what Lacey Evans looks like, so this is for... Gotta help Dan out. So Lacey Evans, she's fairly attractive. She's a former Marine.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is what she's looking like right now in these. So she's doing these. I don't know what you want to call them. She's doing these promos backstage.
Almost like TED Talks.
Yeah, if you will.
Yeah.
This is the third week in a row that she's done one, and she's talking about how horrible her childhood was. How her father was a drug addict, an abuser, and her mom went to the hospital, and she had nothing, and she had nobody to rely on but herself. So she made herself better because she had no one to. She wrestled in high school, and she didn't even have a family to cheer for her. She didn't do it for the adulation. She did it for herself because her father was a drug addict, and she came home one day, and her father was stoned out of his mind with a cigarette, burning his finger because it burned all the way to the end. And this is the third week in a row we've listened to these stories.
So they're really trying to accelerate her backstory or something? Or
I like what Joey says. What does this actually mean? Because the first time I was like, okay, cool, Lacey's coming back. And now it's like,
so you're a casual fan. Mm-hmm. You're getting back into wrestling. So let me ask you a question now. You've gotten this.
You peeing into a cup?
Yeah, I don't know how much the microphone picked up.
Enough, I'm sure.
We're boosting ratings now. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like anybody watched it or heard it. They'll get it in the playback. So you've got this wrestler for 3 weeks in a row who has laid out her life about how horrible her life was, how she's been abused, she's a victim of abuse, nothing has gone right for her.
I think you're going to cheer for her, aren't you? When she goes out and wrestles?
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, because what's going to happen? She comes out in the ring and she's like, I'm back. And then the person who jumps her, like, you had a shitty life. I'm gonna attack you now.
Right.
Yeah.
Or does she become the bad guy because of it? Like, I endured everything, so now you must, everyone else is going to pay for the sins of my father? How does this accelerate her as a character?
And if they did the heel thing, it's the same spiel that she had before. So I don't quite understand. Even if they go good, I'm like, oh boy.
So if somebody for 3 weeks in a row tells you about how crappy her life was and how her father was a drug addiction and she grew up in tents, and trailer homes, is this somebody that you want to cheer because of that? I mean,
I likely would, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would want to see something good happen to him.
Okay. Well, I guess, somebody who had seen her already wrestle before. I mean, I guess.
Right, I have no previous knowledge of who she was or anything.
I guess that's possibly
fair.
where they're going with it. So look, you contributed something really good to the show now. You gave a completely oblivious thought about something.
There you go.
There we go.
Yay me.
I almost, yeah.
Oh, what was the giant girl?
Oh, Rachel Gonzalez.
Gonzalez.
She'll be, so Rachel, not Gonzalez, Raquel Rodriguez, formerly known as Raquel Gonzalez, will debut next week on SmackDown.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Okay, so overall, SmackDown was the best of the 3 shows, but it still wasn't great.
It's not saying much, though, from
No.
what you've said.
No. So this is where we normally talk about good wrestling.
Okay.
And that was with AEW. So AEW, I know that you don't watch much of, you've not watched any of, even though you could actually watch AEW because you get TBS and TNT on Hulu.
I can. Yeah.
So you could actually watch.
Yeah.
This is actually good wrestling. So you start off, and this is the type of stuff, like, look at the times on the matches. You can see, like, the people putting in quality matches. For the most part. Even the one squash down went 6 minutes and 13 seconds. Hook doesn't count. So they start the show with CM Punk, who I know you remember.
Yeah.
He's wrestling Dustin Rhodes.
Cody's
Dusty Rhodes, used to be Gold Dust. And they have a great match. Now, granted, both of these people are over 40-some years old. Mm-hmm. But they still went 17 and a half minutes. Mm-hmm. They still poured it out. And then it was a great match. At the end of the day, CM Punk did win. I thought for a couple times that, I think Dustin might actually get it out. Mm-hmm. He didn't, of course. Mm-hmm. After the match, they hugged each other, and it was all good and done. I didn't know why. It kind of was out of nowhere. I think Dustin is going to get ready to retire soon. He said this is a dream match he's always wanted. It was good enough.
Yeah.
And so their champion right now is a guy named Adam Page, who is a great wrestler but has no personality. He really doesn't have much of a personality. And it might be because his personality used to be the drunk. Like in AEW, he used to be the drunk guy. But now he's the champion. He deserves to be the champion, but he needs someone to speak for him, He needs an MVP. He needs a Paul Heyman. He needs somebody to really move him forward. He doesn't have that. But he's going to be wrestling. CM Punk wants to wrestle him next. This might make CM Punk finally a champion. I don't for AEW. I don't know where it's going to go. But whatever. It was a pretty decent match. It was a really, really good match. Then you had Bryan Danielson, Jon Moxley. So Bryan Danielson, who's from up the road in Aberdeen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan used to be called by. Jon Moxley used to be Dean Ambrose.
Yes.
And Wheeler Yuta is a Japanese guy. They are the Blackpool Combat Club. They are managed by William Regal, and they just beat each other up. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And they beat up Brock Anderson, Dante Martin, and Lee Moriarty. they absolutely got beat up. And that's what it was for. It was more violence. This was a very violent match. This was the whole point of it. And it was good. So then they made this big announcement. Forbidden Door pay-per-view is going to be in Chicago in June. AEW and New Japan are going to partner. They're going to put on a pay-per-view that's going to all sorts of dream matches. I don't know why this is like so big news, because New Japan people have been wrestling in AEW for months. New Japan people have been wrestling in Impact for months. Matter of fact, the match, we're going to talk about a match a little bit where you're going to go, oh, I recognize that name. Very shortly. Or actually it'll be on the next slide. But, so, not sure what the deal is, but this is supposed to be, like, one of the dream matches they want to bring in is Daniel Bryan versus Okada, or CM Punk versus Okada. Now, I let these guys watch some New Japan Wrestling last night. They know who Okada is. They saw how great Okada can wrestle. The one comment, what was your comment when you finally watched at the end of the Okada match? I
do not recall. Sorry.
It was like, that match went 26 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't even really look that tired. Okada is known to go 45 minutes in a match. The match, he wrestled, I can't remember who he wrestled.
Oh,
the Phantasma guy or whatever.
Yeah.
But the match was amazing. It was very hard hitting.
Very stiff match.
Very stiff. Stiff is the word. So then you have, if you've watched any of my show, you've probably heard me talk about MJF.
Okay.
You've not seen me ever talk about MJF. MJF is my favorite. This dude is the best talker in wrestling. He lives his gimmick. He will flip a 10-year-old off while trying to get a picture, because he's a heel. That's his gimmick, and he doesn't blur the lines. He talks on air all the time about Vince. Hey Vince, my contract's up at 2024. Contact me soon about how much money you want to give me, and I'll make you millions of dollars more. He's just amazing, and he's believable, and he's like the heel of all heels. Well, anyway, he used to have a bodyguard named Wardlow. Wardlow is imagine that. Wardlow's a big dude.
Very big guy.
Wardlow's a big dude.
Okay.
He was the bodyguard. And so he's since turned on MJF. I'm tired of doing. It took them 3 years to make him finally turn. They've been teasing it for 2.5 years. It was teased. It was done well. It was a storyline that finally hasn't even paid off yet. The match hasn't even happened yet, but it took 2.5 years to get here. And it's been amazing the whole time. So anyway, he's like, you don't work for AEW, you work for me. You have a contract with me, not with the company. I mean, everybody knows that's not the case, but it works.
It makes it believable. Yeah.
It makes it believable.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's like, hi, Kaylin! I'm not sure what you heard, but you heard it. So, sorry, we just went over to the comment section again.
Okay.
Anyway, so he's a heel, and so now he's like, I want him banned from the banned from the arena. Don't let Wardlow in the arena. Well, he would keep, every time he'd go to the arena, he'd beat up all the security guards, he'd throw them all over the place, he'd come down to the ring. So now he's like, okay, fine, you're going to wrestle people I want you to wrestle, and if you're going to wrestle, he shows up to the ring, he gets put in handcuffs.
Okay.
And he gets led down to the ring. The soda pouring that you said no one heard.
Good.
See, tell your ratings are boosted up for that.
Yeah, exactly.
She
got 2 people now.
Yeah.
Kayla, I don't even know what to say.
You said her enough, all right?
So, Wardlow. So the first person that was on the hit list that MJF wanted to bring is a guy named the Butcher. The Butcher is another big dude. So it's two big dudes. Two big dudes wrestling each other, not a big dude squashing down a little dude.
Nice.
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah.
So the story was that it couldn't be done. So he wasn't able to beat him. So the next person they brought out is a guy named Lance Archer, who's the next mercenary. They call this guy the Murder Hawk.
This guy. Okay.
He was popular in Japan. Okay. There's in comparison with normal people. There's Steve Austin.
Okay.
There's this guy.
Yeah.
He's a full head above Steve Austin.
Yeah.
He is another beast, and so he's gonna wrestle. Wardlow next, and Wardlow, his manager is Jake the Snake Roberts. So Wardlow hands Jake the Snake Roberts a big envelope full of money, and says, "Take him out." And Lance says, "I don't care about the money. I just want to kill somebody." So now he's a mercenary. Kyle O'Reilly had an amazing match with Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy is Luke Perry's son.
I'm aware of that.
Okay.
Oh.
And he is.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And he is the future of AEW. He is a future star. And they're holding him back, which is great. He's kind of like, he's like Austin Theory in the fact that Austin Theory is going to be a star someday, but you don't need, he never won he's not winning the big matches. He does have the tag team titles with Luchasaurus, so he's got a dinosaur as a partner. Have you seen this?
I have.
Okay, good.
Oh, God.
But when you're talking about some of these guys being in their 40s and 50s, I can see, having a dinosaur as their partner.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
It works. It really does. And he had a great match with Kyle O'Reilly. He didn't win, but it was still a great match. And then Taz's son Hook, which I showed you a little clip of him earlier. Mm-hmm. He's the only one that gets the squash down matches. He beat this guy named Anthony Henry in a minute and 20 seconds. Yeah. And then Danhausen came out to try to curse him. Danhausen is, he's a walking satire of wrestling.
Yeah.
He tried to curse Hook, and Hook is uncursable. Hook just looked at him and walked away from him. And so Danhausen's like, I got to figure something out. And then
Hook said something.
Finally. And then we're gonna that shows up next on the Rampage.
Yeah.
So then Dr. Britt Baker, who is from Pittsburgh, or Britsburg, she's the hometown hero. She is a full-on heel, but she's treated like a hero whenever she wrestles in Pittsburgh. And she's a really good wrestler. I did not like her 2 years ago. I would have told you I can't stand Britt Baker. Now I can see it. She's also a real-life dentist and has a dental practice.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is good when you have in a wrestling company. I'm sure you get plenty of...
Yeah. Ask Natalia about that.
Plenty of customers.
Yeah.
She wrestled Danielle Camila, who was kind of a nobody. But she still had a 6.5 minute match with a nobody. And she brought out two Steelers with her. Two of the Pittsburgh Steelers came to ringside with her. It was funny because after the match, she gets the microphone and she's like, that's what you get for coming to Pittsburgh, and I love all my fans. And she throws away the mic, and it's funny because one of the football players picks it up. He's like, he goes to talk, but they'd already killed the mic, so he gets to. He's like, damn it! I want to say something cool, but he didn't get to say anything.
Yeah.
And then your final match was a coffin match with Darby Allin versus Andrade El Idolo. Andrade Idolo is a Mexican stereotype. He is a second-generation wrestler. But the thing about Darby Allin, who is from Seattle, Washington, Darby Allin's going to kill himself.
Pretty much.
Darby Allin will throw himself out of the ring. You've seen wrestlers do dives.
Yes.
But the wrestler will get out of the way, and he doesn't get caught often. Which is obviously by his own want, because if he wanted to be caught, they'd make sure that they
Yeah,
talk
call
about
it,
it.
yeah.
Change the script.
Yeah.
He will throw it. So he has often gone through the middle rope, and it's the barrier that stops him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't just I'm going to toss myself.
No.
He runs full sprint through the ropes, and the barrier goes a whole 2 feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
His finishing move is called the coffin drop, where he stands on the top rope and he falls. He does trust fall backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't even make sure there's somebody there to catch. He can't catch himself on his knees and he lands on his back.
Yeah.
So he does a coffin match. He's from Seattle, so I guess that's the problem. And Sting is one of his mentors. Sting jumped off. That's the point of the trust. Oh, my son's watching with us.
Aww.
Because he loves AEW. He trusts somebody will catch. The problem is, Julian, nobody ever does.
Someday somebody might.
Somebody.
So Sting, and I know you know who Sting is, because Sting is...
He's a singer.
55.
Correct. I love his music.
The police.
Hate you both. Curse! I'm cursing you both!
It doesn't work.
He was a dude too, by the way.
So Sting, they wrestled. They brawled out into the crowd because that's what happens in these kind of matches. And Sting jumps up on the entranceway, and he does a flip where everybody catches him. The 60-year-old man needs to stop doing flips 20 feet high.
Hey, if you're 60 years old, you could do flips. Do flips.
He's gonna break himself one day.
He's going to hurt himself a lot.
Ugh.
A couple weeks ago, he did a dive from the top of the ring, outside of the ring, into a table. Sting should not be doing those things. But Sting
Let's sting.
Sting will sting. And, he left WWE because he had a neck injury. Apparently, he's better.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
The neck doesn't hurt anymore.
It isn't-
Everything
yeah,
does.
everything.
So Darby Allin put Andrade into the coffin. He jumped. The coffin was outside the ring. He gets into the coffin. He puts him on there. Well, by the way, the coffin was lined with tacks. He jumps up gets on top of the ring, and he does a trust fall into the coffin. The coffin, he calls it the coffin drop, on top of the poorly made coffin,
Yeah.
Right.
which
Yeah.
then splinters.
The splinters.
Dynamite had a whole lot more wrestling than Dynamite is a really good show. And if you're new to wrestling, you should watch AEW. You should. You really should. It started with a good match. Second match was a good match. Third match was an okay match. The fourth match was a good match. Fifth match was what you expected. And the last two matches, of the 7 matches, 5 of them were really good. So then we move on to their second show of the week, which is Rampage, which is an hour-long show. Oh, let me get where are you at, mouse? Whoop. Okay. The first match was Adam Cole versus Tomohiro Ishii. Sound familiar?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, because Ishii wrestled 2 days later.
The guy with no neck. Yes.
Yes. And I don't know why there's not a time here, because they definitely wrestled, and they definitely wrestled for about 10 minutes.
Oh.
And Adam Cole did win. I thought it was a really good match. People called it a dream match. I don't know why, because they definitely were in New Japan at the same time. I'm pretty sure they probably wrestled at the same time. I can't, I wouldn't stake my life on that. But it was what it was. And then they did an interview segment, which I showed you earlier. Hook was being interviewed about, hey, what do you think about Danhausen messing with you all the time? And then Danhausen was smashing all of the potato chips. And the reason, with Rampage and AEW, you kind of have to watch the internet also to get some things. They do a lot of, like you said, why not make that an internet thing where you could watch it later? AEW does that all the time. So whenever they try to interview Hook, he's always eating chips. It's because he eats chips. I don't know why. He just eats chips. Yeah. But he's never spoke. He's never given an answer.
He's got a mouthful of chips.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not even that. He just doesn't. He always, whenever he's about to talk, Danhausen interrupted him or somebody interrupted him. Well, so Danhausen decides he's going to just stomp all over Hook's chips are good. Yes, he decides he's going to stomp all over Hook's chips. Yes. I would play the clip so you could see, so the audience could see. But I can't do that because I get copyrighted every time I play clips. That's why we don't play clips. And it's not like I'm making money, so maybe I should not care, but whatever. It gets cut, and then I can't post it on YouTube.
It only gets banned in Saudi Arabia, right? And Antarctica?
Right. Well, that was with the WWE clips. The Rampage clips... since Time Warner's starting to do a merger, they care more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, Danhausen is like, aha, I smashed your chips. What are you going to do about it? And then Hook grabs him, pins him up against the wall, and he's like, you've got my attention. So now we're going to get a Hook.
They're just chips. I love chips, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but yeah.
So now we're going to get a Danhausen versus Hook match pretty soon. The problem is... Danhausen is not particularly a great wrestler. He's a comedy act, but he's good. He's hilarious. And Hook is kind of a beast because he keeps destroying people. So I'm not sure how this is going to go. I don't know if just one day this is going to be the one where Hook actually gets, where Danhausen actually is able to curse him. Not sure how it's all going to work, but I'm interested. It's like, I'm actually looking forward to something. Eddie Kingston wrestled Daniel Garcia for 6.5 minutes. For almost 7 minutes. It was a really good match. There's a lot of story history back there. For those that know, they know. Eddie Kingston is he's got a really good story. He's got a really interesting story. We've talked about it in previous shows. He's one of those guys that just never felt like he was going to be anyone. Professional wrestling is the only reason he's still alive.
Okay.
He, and he's when you know more about him, you really start to like understand why he's a good, and he's a really good wrestler. Anyway, so he was able to beat Daniel Garcia. The match eventually is going to be Eddie Kingston versus Chris Jericho Part 2. That's what's going to happen in the future.
Okay.
Keith Lee, who I absolutely love as a wrestler, don't understand why Vince McMahon fired him. The guy,
he's great.
OC versus Orange Cassidy versus Pac. Okay, so my son just said in regards to Danhausen versus Hook, a lot of people guessing it's going to be like Orange Cassidy versus Pac. Okay, I could see that. So Orange Cassidy is a comedy wrestler. Pac is a bruiser. But Orange Cassidy is a better wrestler than Danhausen, I would say. So we'll see what happens. Keith Lee is a guy who was the size of Jonah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But would do flips and like super agile.
Yeah.
And saying Shane. Let me take a drink and get my mouth to calm down. Shane Strickland is from Tacoma. Shane Strickland is his partner. He was also fired from WWE. A lot of people in AEW were fired from WWE because Vince didn't get it, and now they're stars in AEW.
Okay.
Getting to do the things that they were doing in AEW or in WWE. They got beef with Team Taz. So down the line, that's going to be another really good match. They're building stories, making things to happen eventually. So Marina Sharif is an MMA wrestler who last week Mike and I talked about how horrible she is. She is a horrible wrestler. She cannot. I think that if you and Ron were to if I were to record you and Ron do a wrestling match right now, it would be better than anything that Maria Shirai has ever put out in wrestling.
I think we could sell it as a pay-per-view.
I know, that'd be fun.
So,
Wait, let's talk about this.
all right. So we're gonna. Yeah,
We're gonna loop back to this later.
So, Mike, when you rewatch this, when you replay this and rewatch this, know that we got something here.
See? I need a manager.
Kaylin, you want to see that? You want to see this?
See?
I'd love to see that.
Joey, you're my manager. You're my manager. You gotta find your own Joe.
So,
It's all
hey, we got your ratings up.
Yeah,
We got your ratings up. Julie would be thrilled.
Yeah, as long as I don't come home with that coffin.
so for everybody knows, you're asking to watch a guy wrestle who pulled a hammy tying his shoes in softball.
Ron, I can't believe you did that.
Yeah, what? I know. Oh, see? Hey!
My money's on Dan, yeah.
Dan
Thanks, Kaylin.
pulled a hammy
only
tying his shoe in
only
softball.
because Joey's gonna hit me over with a chair to screw me out of the title. That's what's gonna happen.
What the hell were we talking about? So anyway, Maria Sharif wrestled Jane Cardhill, which I showed you Jane Cardhill earlier, the really buff, big black woman.
Yes.
Okay, so Jane Cardhill looked like $1 million because Sharif looked like half a penny. So why is Sharif even in this? It's probably because she's married to Roderick Strong and she was friends with Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Jade is not the best wrestler in the world, but man, she looked like $1 million. And again, it was horrible. Anytime that Sharif had any bit of offense, no, it was horrible, and that's all I can really see. It was horrible.
Okay.
But Jade now has 30 wins,
Yeah,
undefeated,
Goldberg type thing.
30-0.
Yeah. What?
Now, the moment to shine, the moment that Dan has been waiting
Our
for.
contract signing, Dan?
IMPACT Rebellion.
Oh.
This is some stuff that he actually knows about.
I do.
Yeah.
So, we did not watch the pre-show because it was my son's birthday party. And we were at the birthday party. So we did not get to watch The Influence, Madison Rayne, and Tenille Dashwood defeat The Inspiration, Cassie Lee and Jessie McKay. We don't know how they beat them. We don't know if Caleb with a K was helpful. We don't know any of that. And honestly, we don't really care. Sorry, girls. Don't care. But I do have Fight TV for another month, so maybe I can rewatch it. So the match that we walked in on, me and Dan anyway, was Steve Macklin versus Jay White versus Chris Sabin. I was not a big Steve Macklin fan back in WWE. I'm a huge Steve Macklin fan in Impact. He had his face painted like the Punisher skull.
Yeah, but why?
Because he's a badass. Maybe it's the Marine thing. Maybe it's the mercenary thing. I don't know. Because he's a badass.
It was all over the mat.
And all over Chris Sabin.
Yeah.
But the match, so if you want to throw 2 cents in here and there, by all means, interrupt me, whatever the case might be. But the match was very back and forth. Everyone was good to go. You didn't know who was going to win at any point in time. And then Jay White did his super duper kick on Chris Sabin. And then Steve Macklin throws him out of the ring and takes the pin instead.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the heel stole the match, as he should. Match was great.
So if I remember when we were down in Vegas and saw these guys performing a couple of nights, we were right on the barrier one night. Was that the guy that you were talking to after
Yeah.
the lights went out?
Yeah.
And when the lights were on, you're like, you're bad, you're horrible.
Yeah.
And then when the lights went out, you're like, no, seriously, dude, I love you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you are so much better than you were in WWE, and you're getting what you deserve. And he's like, thanks, man, I really did. And I talked to him after the show, too. I mean, wrestlers are people. But yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Okay.
I was like, oh, you suck. And when the lights went off, I'm like, dude, man, I think you're awesome. I love you. That is true. So the second match was Taya Valkyrie returning back to Impact where she belongs. She spent a year in NXT and had 3 matches and did nothing except for carry her dog and get her name changed to Frankie Monet. The woman is a Viking, and they turned her into a French woman who didn't get to do anything. And she defeated Deonna Purrazzo to get back the.
Yeah, she went back, didn't she?
She received the AAA women's belt from AAA because AAA wrestles in Impact also. The Mexican women's belt. Sorry, not being insensitive. That's just what it is. Taya was pretty dominant in this match.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with her. She wasn't there when we were down there, but she was big. And yeah, there's no doubt that was the way that match was going to go.
Right. Yeah, Deonna Purrazzo, she can be the virtuoso all she wants, but no. So the next match that was supposed to happen, which I swore, I'm like, I know that there was supposed to be another match. It was supposed to be Eddie Kingston versus Jonathan Gresham, which is everyone's favorite sweetheart, Jordan Grace's real-life husband. He wrestled in Impact, or he wrestled in AEW 2 weeks ago, and he received a stinger in the neck when he took a suplex wrong. So that is why that match did not happen.
So it's not like boxing where they bring somebody else in and...
No. Because he's the one who has the belt.
Okay.
And I was really sad because I really wanted you to see Jonathan Gresham wrestle because I think you would have really enjoyed his style, but we'll see it in the future.
So why didn't Jordan Grace wrestle, since you have to mention?
She did wrestle.
That night?
She did.
Oh, that's right, in the tag team match.
Yes.
Sorry, I want to see more of her.
Yes, I know. We all do. And she will probably be getting another match against Matt Cardona again to get her TV or her other belt. So the next match was a triple threat match for the Impact X division with Ace Austin, Mike Speedball Bailey, and Trey Miguel. Miguel walked in this match as your champion. I don't know how to describe this match other than 100 miles an hour.
Oh, it was so speedy. I mean, Trey Miguel himself is just fast. Everything he does looks cool. And the minute you kind of just look at something and go, oh man, that was so cool, he's already in the middle of doing something else that's just as cool.
Speedball, that was your first time seeing him. Yep. What'd you think of him?
I gotta say, I wasn't really watching him too much.
Okay.
I'm familiar with the other two guys, Ace Austin and Trey Miguel, and so those are the guys that I was rooting for and wanting to see do well.
So the thing about Speedball Miguel, and I'm gonna Speedball Miguel, Mike Bailey, Mike Speedball Bailey. I'm gonna use a Mikeism, a Mike Burdettism. Speedball Miguel.
You do it again, dude.
If you're going to use a Mikeism, do you need to get the dump button ready to go, or what?
No. The thing about Mike Bailey is Mike Bailey looks like a create your own wrestler. He looks like the default character. He's the guy that you don't do anything, you don't add anything to. It's like, I'm just going to use the guy out of the box.
Yeah.
That is what Mike Bailey looks like. Hey, we have up to 3 viewers. Yes!
There you go.
My ones of who's watching with us?
It's time to attach the pay-per-view, Dan.
I don't know. I'm afraid if we say something wrong, we're going to lose ones and ones of viewers.
Yeah.
Yes, well,
Pay-per-view time.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen anyway. But so Mike Bailey looks like I said, he looks like he is your create a story character. He's new, but he did all right. And we lost one.
Yeah.
I personally do not like Ace Austin. I cannot stand Ace Austin. Hey, Sean!
It's Sean.
I can't stand Ace Austin, but I cannot discount his wrestling ability.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a good wrestler. His character has a lot to be desired for me. It's hard to root for him.
Which is what a heel's supposed to be.
Yeah.
He's just so cocky when he's out there, and I realize a lot of these guys are, and that's what you want him to be.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's fun to watch.
So how'd the match end?
Not how I wanted it to.
Okay, so since they're not going to say it, I will. So Ace Austin steals the win and pins Trey Miguel.
Yeah, if I recall, Trey Miguel was getting ready to pin Mike Bailey,
Yes.
and Ace Austin comes from outside the ring or something like that, and just completely takes advantage of that opportunity.
So, yeah, it was Ace Austin. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming. So we are 2 for 2 with
New champions.
2 for 2. So the next match, which was kind of your break in between high action. So you would have thought, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
not really.
Yeah.
Was Tomohiro Ishii versus Jonah. So Tomohiro Ishii is the New Japan guy. Jonah is the new the guy that they've just been building as a monster. He just put out PCO on TV a couple weeks the last pay-per-view. PCO, by the way, do you know what PCO is? Mm-hmm. He used to be the Mountie.
Seriously?
But now he looks like Frankenstein.
Okay.
So he just put out PCO. He's just been he's this big, huge, again, somebody who Vince fired because they didn't see him. And if I was to describe this match in 2 words, I would say slapfest.
Yes.
Yeah. I find it weird when you've got these 2, or in some cases 3, 4, 5, 6 wrestlers in a ring, and they just try to see who can slap each other on the chest as hard as you can. I realize that stings, but to me, it's not a wrestling move.
Yeah.
The thing about it is it's very popular in Japanese culture.
Yeah.
They love that. It's a test of strength, a test of endurance. Maybe it's good that Mike's here sometimes. It gives my tongue a chance to rest.
Yeah. There you go.
It gives so it's test of strength and endurance, and the Japanese really like it. It doesn't translate well to someone who's not used to it.
Yeah.
I've watched more than enough New Japan that I see it and I understand it. There is a little bit of no selling in it, which I don't like. But
I think in this particular case, these 2 guys were going at it, wrestling really hard, really fast for a long time.
Yeah.
Even though it was kind of this stick in the middle of the match, it gave these guys an opportunity to breathe.
Yeah.
And I think that allowed for the second half of the match to really still have that same intensity.
There was early on in the match, Ishii was teasing that he was going to give Jonah a suplex.
Yep. Yeah.
And if I can, Dan was like, "That ain't happening."
Yeah. We're all wondering how in the world that was going to happen.
And then at the end of the match,
it did.
It happened.
Yeah, he got a brainbuster.
Ishii got a brainbuster and pinned Jonah.
I was impressed.
Nobody called it. The 4 of us that watched it, because it was us 3 and Dad. No one thought Ishii. We thought Ishii was just here to, goodwill Japanese.
Yeah.
The outsider doesn't usually win. He's just going to go home. Hey, I helped put over the younger, better talent.
Yeah.
No, that's not what happened here. Ishii won. So, awesome. It was.
Yeah, it was good.
And then I would much rather, and we talked about this afterwards, we would much rather had maybe 2 more matches instead of just this one
Yeah.
long, horrible match. Not horrible, but so it was an 8-team elimination challenge for the tag team matches. So 7 teams are going to challenge the champions. The champions were Violent by Design, Eric Young, Joe Doring, and the other guy because they used the Freebird rule. But anyway, so the first 2 people to come out are Matt Cardona and Brian Myers. They are now called the Major Players. These 2 are best friends in real life. They've done TV show. They've done YouTube shows together. When we went and did when we did in Vegas, we did the thing. They were together for the autograph signing and pictures. They're best friends.
So when they do their YouTube show, do they have more viewers than we do?
They have significantly more viewers than I do. They have thousands. He goes around and collects toys. He's a toy collector.
Okay.
So they wrestled their first. So the big story is, and I'll give you some story and context because me and Mike don't often talk about Impact. So Jordan Grace was the very first digital media champion. We watched it happen live. Mm-hmm. We were very excited for her. She's a very beautiful, very strong, very short woman. And she is married to Jonathan Gresham in real life. And Matt Cardona took the belt from her at a couple pay-per-views ago by beating her with a chair without the referee's knowledge. And so it's been going on and on. She's been chasing the belt back. That's what's supposed to happen. The hero's supposed to chase the heel. And the heel keeps getting away with dastardly deeds. Mm-hmm. So she gets Morrissey, who is the old big, John. Ron's like, oh, Big Cass!
That's Cass.
Big Cass, who's 7-some foot tall. Jordan Grace shows up to his, nipple line. So the thing about Jordan Grace, which I really do appreciate, is she does not care about wrestling in the women's division. She wants to wrestle in the men's division.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And she wrestled in this tag team tournament with Morrissey as a male wrestler. So it's 2 guys versus Morrissey and her. And I would say she was in the ring more than Morrissey was.
She was the only female in this.
Yeah.
In this match.
It was a great match. It was going a lot of good places. The bad guys did bad guy things, got the win, and then what I never thought I was going to see, they set up a table. We're going to do this table spot. We're going to put somebody through the table. I thought Cardona's going through a table.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I thought maybe Myers is going through a table. I thought maybe Jordan's going to go through the table.
I was thinking Jordan was going to throw it.
They put Chelsea Green through the table.
The smallest one there.
The small little petite woman went through the table. I was just like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. Got it. Chelsea Green went through the table.
Yeah.
So now, now the Good Brothers are team number 2, and they're going to wrestle. It's the Major Players.
Well, and real quick, they put her through the table a minute and a half after the match ended.
Right.
Yeah.
The third team hadn't yet come down off the ramp yet, and I'm not sure why that didn't take place, unless they just wanted those 2 to continue to go at each other after the match was over, which is what happened.
Yeah.
Right. Logic would have dictated that you bring out the next team right away. So let's go ahead and take advantage of.
Yeah.
Right.
So instead, they take advantage of the team who just watched the team of the guy whose wife just watched his wife go through a table.
Yeah.
But to their credit, I will give them credit here in a minute. So the Good Brothers were easily defeated the Major Players and the Good Brothers are the ones who had the belts. They want their belts back. Mm-hmm. So team number 3 is the ex-champions. They want their belts back. they do a magic killer on the Good Brothers, or on the major players, because they're distraught about things.
Yeah.
So now you're like, okay, here comes the next team. But again, a minute or two goes by before the next team comes out.
Yeah.
The pacing was weird, but it's like, well, we're not going to go, we're giving a long time between these two matches, a long time between the next. Basically, it's like every team waited a minute and a half before coming out. Instead of it just being that one time to sell the table.
Yeah.
Right.
So I on one hand, I kind of appreciate it, but on the other hand, it's like, we still got 5 more teams to go. Can we please get through this? So, team number 4 is Zicky Dice and Johnny Swinger.
Fandango tile.
This match was a squash and did not last very long.
Yeah.
So finally, the Good Brothers actually have some competition with match number 1, 2, 3, number 4, when they had Rich Swann and Willie Mack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally thought that Rich Swann and Willie Mack were going to beat the Good Brothers.
Yeah, I thought that was their opportunity.
Yeah, that was their...
to lose.
That was,
You know, but they went a lot longer. At the end of the day, I know that Ron was like, oh, I get to see the lumbar. I haven't seen a lumbar check in a long time. You did not get to see the lumbar check.
no.
Instead, you got to watch yet another magic killer.
Yeah.
So next comes out they call them the OGK. I'm not sure why. This is basically Honor No More.
Right.
This is the people from Ring of Honor who are destitute and don't have a job anymore because Ring of Honor's closed. Mm-hmm. Mike Bennett and Matt Taven. They came out with Marina
what's her face?
Kanellis.
And Kanellis.
Maria Kanellis, who is gorgeous. And so they teased the other 2 members of Honor No More coming down the ring, while the actual competitors snuck up from behind. The match went a while. The match saw Kanellis holding Gallows' feet somehow to help her husband win. So Mike Bennett and Matt Taven win. Beat the Good Brothers. So now the people who want their belts back don't get their belts back. Instead, Honor No More is contention. Here's the thing. I don't think the Good Brothers are going to be in Impact much longer. I think their contracts are going to go, and they're going to back to New Japan. I don't know where they're going to go. But they've been in Impact way longer than I thought they were going to be. And I don't like them anyway. So, whatever. I've never liked them much. Next comes Rhino and Heath.
Good match. I think both those guys could have easily taken a title away. It's no surprise that they were able to beat OGK. I think they were just a better wrestlers at that moment. Bigger, obviously. Those guys are bigger. It didn't surprise me.
Yeah. The 6th match of this 7 match was the best match. But at this point in time, most people had checked out. That's the problem.
Right. Yeah. This is, I don't know, this was 25 minutes into a match. I mean,
right. So
it's a long time.
The best 2 competitors have the best, and then you bring out Violent by Design, the champions, versus Rhino and Heath, which have the longest history.
Yeah.
Right.
And they had probably the shortest, well, not the second shortest actual match. Yeah. Because everybody was tired of it. The crowd was dead.
Yeah.
Nobody was cheering.
No.
Everyone was like, please just be done with this. I never thought I'd hear myself say, I wish they would have just done a battle royal for the belts.
Or a traditional tornado tag team. I mean, but like what you said, just on top of each other.
I would have rather have seen that. There was a lot of time between each of these groups coming in.
Yeah.
And I think at that point in time, you lose the momentum.
Yeah. And the real crazy part of this was, at this point, I was like, if you go back and if somebody wants to fact check this and they go, how long did this match actually last? It was probably only 20 minutes. It felt like an hour.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because when I looked at the clock to figure out, I looked at the clock because, you know, I was getting close to my kid's bedtime. I'm like, oh, it's only 7:15. This pay-per-view's only been on for an hour and 15 minutes. But it felt like I just watched an hour of tag teams.
Yeah.
So then we have the Tasha Steelz versus Rosemary for the Women's Championship. Rosemary had her amazing introduction as always. Tasha Steelz is bland.
Interesting, yeah.
Sasha-like.
She's very Sasha. Did you say Sasha light?
Yeah. Yeah. Sasha-like.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you that. Maybe that's why I don't like her. What were you guys' thoughts on this match?
I liked it. I remember watching Rosemary and the rest of her group when we were down there.
Decay.
Wasn't a big fan of the overall group and their stick, or whatever you want to call it, their shtick. But I mean, I thought that Rosemary was probably going to be Tasha. I wasn't familiar with Tasha. I don't think we saw her when we were down there.
We did.
Second night?
We saw her during the tapings. She was the one who was going after Jordan Grace. Or Jordan. Yeah, Jordan Grace.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was actually her flunky, the bigger girl, that was going after Jordan Grace. So
Okay. But Tasha wasn't actually in the ring.
no.
Or not a competitor in the ring.
Yeah.
Right.
I actually thought Rosemary was going to take it.
Yeah, I did too.
And I was like, oh. Yeah.
But, you know, we had to, that did not happen. Tasha Steelz, with help from her partner, did in fact beat Rosemary. So we got at least one. So now we've got two teams that got to keep their belts. So now we're 2-2. Two people lost their belt. Two people have kept their belt.
Yeah.
And now we have the whole reason that this pay-per-view even was played on my TV.
The only match that mattered.
The only match that Dan wanted to see. Well, he wanted to see the rest of the matches too, but we had the walking weapon, Josh Alexander versus the Impact champion Moose. Now, Dan, go ahead and explain to the peoples how we got here. How did we get here?
The first night we were down in Vegas, it was the night of the pay-per-view.
Bound for Glory.
Bound for Glory pay-per-view.
On my birthday.
Yes, it was. And I mean, it was a fun environment, great place to be. Something about Josh's introduction, which was my first time seeing him and even having any knowledge about him. Whether it was like the video they played or something, I just really felt like I wanted him to win that night. And he did. I don't remember who he defeated at the time to win the championship.
So it was Josh Alexander versus Christian for the belt. And Christian is long-time wrestling, and they did the thing, you know, Josh Alexander won the X Division title, and he's like, I want option C.
Yeah,
I don't want this belt. I want the heavy. I want the belt I never got. Yeah. Josh Alexander used to be in a tag team called The North. So he was an X Division, then he went to tag team, and then his tag team partner went to AEW. So then he's like, I want to go concentrate on singles again. And I'm going to time out here for a second. This pay-per-view was held at Sam's Town. Sam's Town is not paying me for this. But if you're ever in Vegas, go to Sam's Town. It is an amazing casino.
It was a great place to be.
Sorry. Now, back. Time in. So the story was all about Josh Alexander. Well, like you said, they invested you.
Right.
Like, he's chasing his dream to finally be a champion. He's been wrestling for 20 years, doesn't have a champ, or 15 years, however long it's been. He's never gotten a championship. This is his first chance to really be the man. And he was wrestling an idol of his, a fellow Canadian Christian. That match was amazing.
Oh, it was an amazing match. I mean, it lasted so long. I mean, I just remember the chants there inside the arena, and you know, just chanting, "This is awesome," and it was great. I was, like I said, totally invested in it. Really wanted Josh to win. Was excited for him to finally get that opportunity to win. And then, as many of you know, to have it just taken away in 2 minutes and 17 seconds later, which was totally unfair in my mind.
It was
So Josh
Previously in the night, Moose had won a opportunity to call your shot.
Call your shot. He won the Call Your Shot Battle Royal, where he could challenge anybody for a title shot anytime they wanted. It's basically
Money in the Bank.
Impact's Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Josh Alexander did in fact tap out Christian in the middle of the ring, 100% fair and square.
Yeah.
And so he's in the ring celebrating with his
family in the ring. Yeah. I mean, I'm a family guy. I was invested in that moment. I saw what it meant to him, to his wife, to his kid. And then just to have Moose just kind of throw in the opportunity to challenge right then and there, I thought was wrong. He had just gone through this exhausting match, and to me, it wasn't fair. And I'm all about fair. You know, I'm all about fair. And so for me, it was just one of those things where it's like, that was not right.
His wife and kid are still in the middle of, or hiding in a corner of the ring as Josh gets speared and the belt taken away. Josh held the belt for 1 minute and 27 seconds. The shortest Impact Wrestling Championship reign in history. This happened in October.
Yeah.
November, December, January, February, March, April. 6 months to the day.
Because it was that's 23rd, yeah.
6 months to the day he gets his rematch. Yeah. There was a lot of things that happened. He got kicked out of the company for 30 days. A lot of things happened. 6 months to the day he gets his rematch.
I mean, the match itself was incredible. Moose is a good wrestler, but just not somebody I relate to. He's a heel, like you say.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes to like those people, and I think that's the
that's
intention.
Right.
That's the intention. And so for him to be the champion just sat wrong with me. And so I mean, a month or so ago, maybe, or a month and a half ago, where I was like, oh my gosh, I saw something that said that this match was going to happen. I told Joey before Joey even knew that Rebellion was happening. I was like, we got to watch this pay-per-view. And he's like, what pay-per-view?
Yeah. I'm actually getting ready to watch Impact with Dad. And we're on the West Coast, and we watch wrestling. We record it and watch it a little later because the kids go to bed. So the news had already broke that Josh Alexander was back with Impact and had been given a title shot.
Yeah.
And he goes, I want to watch this match. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he sent me the link. I'm like, oh, hey, Dad, I know what happens on Impact later. Spoiler!
I usually do a really good job of making sure I don't spoil things for you when it comes to like football and stuff like that. Yeah, but this one I was like, oh my gosh.
So he goes, we're doing a pay-per-view. We're going to do your house. I'll pay for it. I don't care. I don't care how it has to happen. I want to see this. And we did. We watched it last night. And so, without giving away who won the match yet, this match was very back and forth.
Yeah.
Yep.
There were moments where you're like, Josh has got it! No.
Moose has
And
got it.
then
They were
Moose-
almost like, oh, crap, Moose has got this!
Then Moose did his heel thing.
No.
Good points.
Towards the end of the match, Moose peels away the turnbuckle. And
Yeah.
Josh Alexander goes to do a tackle and neck first into the turnbuckle. And the announcers, of course, they're selling, oh no, his injured neck. And Dan's like, no!
I'm like, what a jerk!
And Moose pins him. 1, 2.
2.5.
2 and
Josh
3/4.
kicks out at like 2 9/10.
Yeah.
So then Moose pulls away the turnbuckle again.
Above it, yeah.
And
So
the
both the
buckle bomb.
turnbuckles were
And he
exposed.
gets thrown into the turnbuckle a second
yeah.
time. Okay, now.
I just thought he wasn't coming back from that
Yeah.
moment. Yeah, wasn't coming back.
And then what happened?
You want me to spoil the end?
No, now we can talk about the end. Now we're at the end of the match.
Well, I don't know all the names of like the moves and stuff like you guys do, so I don't know. Oh, this happened and that happened and whatnot. But I mean, I was thrilled that Josh was able to win the match finally. You know, I just that was the moment that I'd been waiting for. I am looking forward to kind of following along and seeing what happens next, and just kind of knowing that's something that hooked me in. I felt like there was a lot more wrestling and stuff in Impact than what you guys are talking about in some of these other shows. There wasn't a lot of behind the scenes things,
No.
story driven or anything like that. There were maybe one or two quick interviews,
Right.
Yeah.
but I don't think that there was a lot of theatrics outside the ring to drive a storyline and not. I mean, there was actual wrestling at the end of all of this. I was hoping for more wrestling. You know, I liked it. I was invested in it.
There you go.
And I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, there's a backstory, but they didn't highlight the family saga versus Moose.
Right.
Right. No, I'm
you
aware
saw
that
it.
you know a couple
saw
of weeks ago, Moose actually speared Josh's wife in a match. Had gone to their house up in Canada and essentially threatened him. So yeah, I mean, I remember seeing some of that type of stuff, but
It wasn't
that wasn't a part
Yeah,
of
it wasn't
this
overplayed.
particular
Yeah.
show.
They
Because
showed
clips.
Yeah.
Right. They didn't pound it into you and show it to you every 10 minutes
Yeah.
like another wrestling show
Yeah.
would do. So overall, Impact Rebellion was a great show. It
Yeah.
had some really good matches. It did have some suck in it. There was not everything on this show was golden. I wouldn't say that this was like the best pay-per-view. I would say that Bound for Glory was a better show.
We were there.
Right, but still the matches were better. Like this, the whole tag team, I could have gone without
Right.
most of the tag team tournament.
I think you could have
Yeah,
had a tag team match and then two other matches.
Two other
Right.
fun matches, not
Yeah.
not,
So-
not this.
But yeah, it was a good pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So, before we're gonna finish up here, got a couple minutes. So, this is rumor has it. This is we're gonna talk about a couple rumors that are out there. Some things that may or may not be happening in the future. So we'll talk about a few rumors, and we'll see some of your thoughts on what you think, if you think there's any validity to them. So. Alexa Bliss is very transparent. She's frustrated that nothing of substance has happened since she's been out of action. She apparently has told Vince McMahon she's not happy. So, Alexa Bliss went away. She's back. She got married. She's back. She showed up at WrestleMania. She was part of a big match with... not part of a big match. She was part of like a big...
Royal Rumble type?
Royal Rumble, the Women's Royal Rumble type of match. And she hasn't been seen since.
Mm-hmm.
She's apparently frustrated. So does this mean that Alexa Bliss is on her way out? Or do you think they still got something big for her?
Jeez. I'm going to go with on the way out.
Because next week is the week typically that all the WWE wrestlers get fired. For budget cuts.
Of course. They always... I mean... Shoot. I was going to say they'll never fire Bray Wyatt, but look what happened.
You got fired a year ago.
So, I'm going with being fired. She lost her gimmick. I mean...
Well, yeah.
I mean...
Right.
If there was anything, I agreed with Mike. It's like, I like that gimmick. But then, once Bray, it's like, okay, what are you going to do with this?
Right. All right, so Dave Meltzer, who is like the authority of knowledge and rumors, and he thinks he knows everything, says that right now they are not merging the Raw and SmackDown rosters. So you have Roman Reigns owns both belts. He wants the Usos to get both tag team belts. So at that point in time, you got one team owning both belts for both teams. Now, Meltzer's saying that's not going to happen, but right now everything's pointing to the Usos taking the belts from RK Bro. Mm. Do you think that and Mike would say that the reason that Raw and SmackDown is not going to merge is because one show is shown on NBC / USA or USA, which is NBC subsidiary, and the other one's owned by Fox Sports, which is owned by Fox.
Right.
So unless USA is losing their deal or Fox is losing their deal, it doesn't make sense that they would split. But right now, they have so few wrestlers in anything interesting. I don't know. This is more of a news story than a rumor, but whatever. Alberto Del Patron is actually wrestling.
Oh, boy.
He was kicked off of wrestling in May 2020 when he was charged with sexual assault and aggravated kidnapping. What I find interesting is the case, and I'm telling you this just because I think it's worth saying. The case against him was dismissed last December after a witness failed to appear. That witness was later found dead.
Oh.
Is this going back to the mafia hitman?
Nope, that's real.
Oh, okay.
This is real. He beat up Paige too, didn't he?
Yeah, Paige was, and he also beat up on Paige. So there are rumors that John Cena's returning, and then there's rumors that John Cena's not returning. John Cena has been wrestling for the company for 20 years.
But when's the last time he wrestled?
Year and a half ago.
Undertaker.
Okay.
Year and a half ago. He said he's always on call for an emergency situation. So, in June is when his 20 years starts. So, will we see John Cena on TV in June? Yes or no? Give me a thought. Yes or no?
I'll say yes.
I think so too.
And I know you're not asking my opinion because I don't watch it, but I think he will. I think it's something that you've got to acknowledge on the air. You know, he's a big enough name that I do believe that WWE should acknowledge him in the ring, maybe. I'm not necessarily saying a match, but, you know.
Yeah, I think that he will come in, he'll do a promo, he'll be on the show. I don't think he's going to wrestle.
No.
They need him to, but I don't think he's going to wrestle.
No.
And then Bray Wyatt hasn't signed with AEW or returned to WWE because he's asking too much money. Do you think that Bray Wyatt actually thinks he's worth more than he is? Or do you think that just...
How much do some of these guys get paid?
Some people get in the millions.
Per year?
Yeah. I don't think if Bray Wyatt is asking for more money than he's worth, he was super over and then he wasn't. He's very creative. He could do anything he did in wrestling and make a good horror movie, which apparently he did.
Yeah,
he has.
Yes.
I don't think that's the case.
Is it more creative control from him?
I think he wants more creative than he's allowed.
Right.
And the other thing is, what is too much money? Does he think he's worth $750,000 and everybody only thinks he's worth $500,000? So that's is he asking for Roman Reigns money? He's not worth Roman Reigns money. Is he asking for Cody Rhodes money? Maybe not worth that. But is he asking for upper? I mean, I think he probably could get. He feels. I can see where he deserves a certain amount, but we don't know what that certain amount is, and we don't know how much.
Right.
Everybody else feels he's worth. I think he'd be worth upper, but not main event.
I would agree with that.
So you're saying he's upper 3/4?
Yeah. He's better than mid card.
Yeah, he's not.
He's better than mid card, but he's not main event.
Yeah.
Okay.
He should be getting, like, if you were going to go $1 million is main event and $500,000 is mid card.
Yeah,
he should be getting
750.
Okay.
But yeah, he's not main event. So.
And finally, the show is going to wind down with our final thoughts.
I'm sure both people watching are appreciative of that. Actually,
what? Just Sean.
Yeah. So, did the camera flip us, or have we always been No, we've
always been like that.
Okay, the camera just looks like the angle's closer. Anyway,
yeah, either way,
it's close up. In for a close up. All right, so you asked me at the beginning of the show, why do I still watch this crap?
Yeah, I was hoping we'd get back to that.
Yeah. So on our final thoughts, I'll explain to you why do I keep watching this crap. And you actually answered the question for me. You answered the question for me a little bit ago when you started talking about Josh Alexander. when you start talking about you got invested in it. You saw something. You wanted to see what was going to happen next. I remember those days. I remember when I was super invested. I remember going, oh, where is this going to go? This is so cool. And every now and then I will get that. Every now and then WWE will bring me back into something that really is cool. Every now and then WWE will go, now I remember why I like that. NXT was that for me for the last 2 years.
So maybe you don't care about every storyline progressing, but there's one or two storylines that just continue to hook you in.
It used to be that NXT was all full of that. Now NXT is just like, I watch that because I'm trying to get. It's kind of like WWE has me in an abusive relationship right now.
Okay.
I remember the good
following this so far.
Right.
I remember the good times,
Yes.
and every now and then, WWE tells me they love me, and makes me go, okay, they love me. I'm going to stick with you.
And you're afraid to leave because you're afraid to see what you're going to miss out on.
Right, which is kind of why if you look, well, you can't see on the TV, but that's probably why there's like over 60 boxes of comic books in here. Cause,
Afraid to miss a storyline.
I'm afraid to miss a storyline. I remember when it was good, and I'm hoping that something will happen. I want to be like, that was good, and I want to see it again. So the reason that I stay with this abusive relationship with WWE is because every now and then they tell me I'm pretty, and give me some flowers.
And so do you think Vince has the ability to turn that around? I mean, there's been rumors over the last couple of years that he's looking to sell possibly or whatnot. I don't think that he will.
No, Vince does not have the ability to turn it around.
Mm-mm. But what about any of the guys he's put in charge?
Well, here's the problem.
Or do any of these guys really have control over it, or is it just a title they've been given from Vince who really has the final say?
If you listen to everybody talk, that is 100% it.
Yeah.
So Vince McMahon gave Triple H 100% control over NXT. And NXT, when it was black and gold, was amazing. Mm-hmm. The storylines made sense. It was character driven.
Yeah.
Character driven, not characters driven.
Right.
Okay.
It was like the character of the person, not, hey, it's the Italian mafia versus the Mexican mafia. Right. I mean, those characters were still there, but it was presented not as a cartoon.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And Triple H and Vince McMahon paid, like, the Eye of Sauron was not on NXT.
Right.
So he didn't know what was going on. And then Triple H started having heart issues, and and then Vince McMahon's like, what's going on over here? I need to make this better.
Yeah.
And Triple H, and I'm going to talk about this. I want to have, we're going to talk about this next week with Mike, because I want Mike's thoughts on this, and save it for the show, Mike. But Vince McMahon, or Triple H, came out and said, NXT is where it's supposed to have been. Vince did not ruin NXT. It's exactly where it would have been had I still been in charge. I don't believe that.
Right. It sounds like he's just trying to stay
the son-in-law.
Boss's good grace.
Right. I don't believe that.
Right.
At all.
Right.
Anyway, so WWE every now and then does some good stuff. Like I said, the whole abused wife, whatever. I'm not making light. I am not making light of anybody who's in an abusive relationship. Please don't take that from that. You gotta be careful what you say.
We just lost both our viewers.
Mm-hmm. Right. I want to be careful. But I just remember the good times, and I want to see the good times again. And I feel like until Vince McMahon either sells the company or dies, every now and then, like, you could tell Randy Orton is allowed to do what Randy Orton wants to do because Randy Orton's having fun. Yeah. And he enjoys it. And you can see he enjoys it again.
Right.
And maybe he's just high all the time now. I don't know. But you get to see people do stuff, and you see where it goes. And there are some wrestlers I do enjoy. Still, even though they're in the shittiest of... Oh, I actually cursed one time. They are in horrible storylines. I still enjoy what they get to do sometimes. And I've watched my fair share of wrestlers that I've really enjoyed go somewhere else. NXT just lost Kushida. Why? Kushida was amazing. You could have done great things with him. But I watch it because I think that I remember what it was. I remember when it was good, and I want to see it be good again. And it's not all bad, but it's mostly bad.
Yeah. I'm with Joey on that one. That's kind of like what I said earlier. I mean, currently, like right now, the Flame to the Moth type thing for me is actually Edge's story. Because I remember the Ministry of Darkness and all that stuff with The Undertaker. It has tons of that. And even Edge's promo was even like that too. It's like, hey, I'm a little bit of, Ministry, a little bit of Brood. Well, I'm going to do this my own way. But in the back of my mind, it's like, is this going to go south real quick? Are you going to add members that are going to go, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
So it's kind of that relationship as well. It's like, I like Edge. It's great that he can do some stuff, but he's limited. And he's just passing on the buck and his own persona, which is great. But I'm just worried about sustainability, because a lot of those storylines that I loved, like the Ministry, that went it had its ridiculous moments too.
I know a couple weeks ago you were kind of talking about viewership numbers and stuff. I mean, are they seeing spikes in viewership, drops in viewerships? I forget what I said, but I mean, with some of these storylines, if I'm watching for 3 hours and I get to watch 5 matches, that's not why I'm watching it, for the drama.
Right. So Raw's numbers are dropping. SmackDown numbers are staying strong because they have Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns is interesting. Now, since Brock Lesnar's left TV, the ratings have dropped some. WrestleMania high is over, they've dropped some. People are still tuning into Raw because they want to see what's going to happen with Cody. Like right now, Cody is like there are some of us out there who are like watching to figure out whether the shoe's finally going to drop with Cody. All right, Cody, hope you enjoyed your time, because we're waiting to see how it's going to happen. What's the moment when Cody becomes Stardust again? Or what's the next thing that's happening? The numbers, the people that have the worst numbers, unfortunately for you, is Impact.
Right, and I realize that. I realize that it's a smaller faction,
and it's not because of that.
It's smaller group. Probably also doesn't have a main channel as for viewers. You've got to actually buy a channel to watch it, not some of these others.
Right. Access is a channel that is not offered on many cable streams, and numbers don't count for the people that watch it on Impact Plus.
Okay.
And I don't know if any of these shows actually use DVR numbers, because a lot of people DVR stuff and watch it later.
Yeah.
Half your face is missing.
It has been for a while. I just keep leaning into Ron.
Yeah.
You're going the other way.
All right. Well, I hope I answered my question. Did I answer your question?
Sure.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys for coming in. I appreciate you guys giving me I didn't have to do the show by myself, and
it was fun, but we're glad that Michael's coming back next week. Michael, you better be here.
Yeah. Or else we're going to have to pay for you.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to watch, so.
I know. This is kind of fun.
Well, maybe Ron will come back more every now and then, but Ron just has to actually watch stuff and have stuff to input.
What? We're going to do a pay-per-view, right, Dan?
Right.
We're going to have a contract
Ron versus Dan.
Yeah, contract signing next episode.
Yeah, no, that's you guys gotta have time to book it. We need to find sponsors.
Sorry, we got to do the storyline. We got to come up with a storyline
going
first.
We need some of the earlier matches, the undercard matches.
Yeah. We got to create some friction between us, so we'll work on that.
Right.
All right, hey, well, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining me. And Mike, hopefully you enjoyed your time with your family, and hopefully you'll be back next week. And hopefully there's something for us to talk about, because, like I said, this week sucked. in news. This week sucked in news, and it's a good thing you weren't here because you didn't watch the impact. You didn't watch the pay-per-view with us. So, all right. For my co-hosts Dan and Ron, I am Joey. We are Powerbomb Weekly, and Mike will come back next week.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Yeah. That's very cool. Thanks, Joey.
Well, we gotta stop the streaming and the